It's beautiful weather here, just very close to Highbury actually, and you can see why. The sun will be shining down as Arsenal fans walk out of the stadium. And just before I start the video, I just kind of wanted to reference something, sort of talk about the Arsenal that we saw today. Let's talk a little bit about the Arsenal that we saw earlier in the week. The Arsenal that went out on penalties, a little bit confused, dazed slightly as to why Sporting Lisbon beat Arsenal. And there was an element of disrespect, I think, always that comes. Sometimes I understand it. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like English teams are better than a lot of other teams in Europe. It's just down to the money spent and the quality of coaching, all those kind of things. There was a bit of that, but there also was just, hey, these guys held them. This was their FA Cup. This is a quality side from a quality league, and I covered that. But I didn't get to do that. The post-game Arteta comments, the ones where he's basically alluding to the fact that it wasn't quite our performance. Now, other managers might, especially given what Spurs have had this weekend, and I'm not trying to rub it in Spurs, but especially given what Spurs have had this weekend with Conte making those comments, some players react in quite a toxic way when a manager says angry or not even reactive things, just things where it's vaguely critical of the players, right? It must be lovely, genuinely, to work in an environment where people can criticize other people or a manager can criticize a performance and the players react in a positive, affirmative manner to what it is that the manager says. There is such a sense of, how can I put this? There is such a sturdy sense of what this squad is and such a respectful sense of what this squad is that he is able to criticize professionals who are living right on the edge of sport right now, living right on the edge of football, and not upset that equilibrium that is there in the side. And I think that's testament to Mikel Arteta at this point. I just think we're not he's one of the youngest, if not the youngest manager in the Premier League right now. Are we genuinely not appreciating how brilliant it is that in his first serious managerial job here? He obviously had another assistant manager job, but this guy has hit the ground like this and was given the time. Like, all the things that we preach are currently happening. Even if you're not an Arsenal fan, should you not be lauding this? Anyway, on with the video. Here we go. What an easy way for Arsenal to go into the international break. 4-1, easy at home against Crystal Palace. They eased to yet another simple Premier League result, but there was a lot to break down in this game. Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's good to have you. If you are coming into the international break with us, then hit that subscribe button down there. And please leave a like on the video and a comment as well as to what you would like to see us cover about your team or any other on the channel. I quite enjoyed this Arsenal game. It wasn't on TV in the UK, and sure, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. You, you got it. But, Arsenal made this look so simple against Crystal Palace, a team who effectively put all their eggs into a defensive basket and then breaking on the opposition. It doesn't seem as if Patrick Vieira, an ex or Arsenal brilliant legend still, had that much, I guess, outlet against Arsenal. Arsenal was so in control of this whole game. In fact, normally you see a little bit more stress put onto their formation in the average positions, in the areas where you think, hey, maybe the opposition can get to them a little bit here. Even when Crystal Palace scored, Arsenal just go down the other end and just go, cool, we'll just take another down there if that's all good. And actually, what's interesting is to look at Arsenal's formation right now. You can see there is a symmetry in that box in midfield. Zinchenko just slots in, especially when they're in control, which is pretty much all the game right now. And then alongside that, pushes Xhaka right up, basically making, again, that front five. But like a back two, essentially. So you're essentially playing a 2-4-4 or even a 2-3-5, which, weirdly, kind of is similar to what City go for sometimes. But having said that, Arsenal play it in a very different way, in the box in midfield, and the way that Zinchenko plays, but also the way that you see Xhaka play, so different to the way that Man City execute it. Something that isn't very different, though, to one of the other great sides this season is 10-10 for Saka. 10 goals, 10 assists. It's great to see, and one of the only other people who's achieved it in Europe at this point is 10-10. Cavaradonna, that's right, for Napoli, who are one of the only teams who are actually having an equivalent, if not better, season than Arsenal. Because obviously Napoli are competing on multiple fronts, Arsenal competing for the Premier League, and that, as they should be as well. You want to focus, put all your eggs in that basket and get that over the line. What a way to do it as well, just before the international break. This team understand timing. This team understand the relevance of how you pace yourself over a season now. Something that they possibly hadn't done in previous seasons, or they just didn't have the experience to, or maybe they didn't need to do. Because very differently, when you're trying to run for a Premier League title, you have this sense that something special is coming together. There isn't a sense of kind of, oh yeah, the season's just sort of ticking along. Seasons don't tick when you are in a title race with Man City. Seasons talk, sure, but it doesn't go both ways. You're constantly pushing, you're constantly in a race, you're constantly preparing for the next game. And after the last result that Arsenal had, the disappointing penalty shootout against Sporting, which threw them out of the Champions League after Ramsdale did his best David De Gea impression, this team needed a revival. They needed some sort of a response against this side. And sadly, I think it was just Crystal Palace that were the team that was going to get absolutely unloaded on. And they did. And Arsenal could have had way more. And Arsenal were in control throughout the game, which they weren't against Sporting Lisbon. And that's kind of where I find it a little bit interesting. Like I said, their average positions for Arsenal in this game really reflected their dominance. But against Sporting, it wasn't the same. Against Sporting in both games, actually, it wasn't the same. And I did say, I thought that other managers would look at the blueprint that Sporting put down and try and implement that against Arsenal. But it's difficult to do. Arsenal are a very controlling side anyway. They're a side with supreme confidence right now. And so even to get into a position where you can challenge or even just nullify elements of Arsenal is very tricky. They played their strongest midfield today, at least in my humble opinion, in Xhaka, Partey and Odegaard. And all three of them, well, they were just imperious out on the field, which is kind of annoying if you're in opposition because you don't have any way of controlling the midfield at that point. You think of Xhaka as like this deep-lying playmaker. He's actually, especially you saw it in his goal today, coming in kind of on the edge of the box, not in like a Lampard-esque way, but do you get what I say when I mean Frank Lampard? Like a similar area where he operates. There's an element of facilitation. There's an element of I'm always here if you need me. And they didn't even need to really sub out the midfield. In fact, they actually kind of took away from the midfield a little bit later on, shifted the formation a little bit, and made it slightly more defensively solid. If anything, it was sort of an Arteta flex. Other managers go for this kind of, hey, I've got the human victory cigar of X. Arteta has the human victory substitutions, but also the human victory shifts. And by the way, he calls them impactors. Something that you can see people were trying to use against him just the other day, and now, well, these guys didn't even really need to impact the game when they came on. Although he did make 2 quite early subs and then 3 quite late ones. One of which was actually getting his Premier League debut, Cavallo. I like him. I just haven't seen enough of him. He's made his Europa League debut already. Sure, great backup. Lovely to have him there. And then at the same time, it's nice to see Tierney getting in on that final goal as well, isn't it? By the way, that Arsenal final goal, the composure, the control in the penalty area. This isn't like it's like control when Crystal Palace are laid out and they're kind of near the halfway line and, just pass the ball around. Tierney just had ages to just pick Saka out, put the ball across, easy, simple, low finish. The other goal from Xhaka was fantastic. Martinelli getting on the scoreboard as well. I would love to know Arsenal fans' opinions on who you think is better. Not that you want to get into this kind of thing, but who do you think is better, Martinelli or Saka this season? Both of them are insatiable. Both of them are amazing to watch. And both of them have just unquenchable thirst for scoring goals and getting assists in the Premier League. It is infectious to watch as an opposition fan or someone who's not even a fan of Arsenal. So I can't imagine what Highbury's literally just over there. I can't imagine what the stadium is like on match day. I'm kind of trying to go to one of the games. If you want to get me tickets, I'm just saying, like, I'll pay for tickets. I just want to go with someone who isn't going to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? So Arsenal have this control, but the funny thing is you see other sides who get control, City, Liverpool, Manchester United of late as well, and they sort of sit back on it. They sort of just go, yeah, we've got control of the game. Why even bother kind of trying to flex with this? Let's just see what happens and keep going forward. Arsenal, in that moment, know they need to strike, know they need to capitalise on the moment. And early on, when Martinelli scored, I was just like, okay, this is the way this game goes. But funnily enough, it wasn't like when you watch Man City and you're like, they score early and you're like, well, that's boring. You can just watch them for the whole 90 minutes and you just sort of go, yeah, these guys are brilliant. And it's not boring to watch. Arsenal are not a boring side. There is an element of free association to the team. The side are in control, but then Zinchenko slots into the midfield. Odegaard comes into this weird, like not 10 position, but like not even a false nine actually, but not like a weird 10 position, but like a sort of I can just drift. And you just sit there and go, first of all, he's Arsenal captain at a very young age, but how is someone this young just given this license, just roam around? There are other teams that can barely get a formation in, and Mikel Arteta is making minor changes. By the way, around Trossard up front. Trossard. And then bringing in Gabriel Jesus later. It's like, this wasn't meant to work like this. This kind of interchangeability in the Premier League is something that a lot of people struggle with. And weirdly, it works. They are as fluid as the Wenger years. Do you know what I mean? Like, back in the day, you knew that when Thierry Henry had this pass on, they want to make those little triangles, they look like the red arrows all going forward together. Arsenal just have that, but they just compress the space even more now. There aren't even times where you think, you know what, like, I actually think this side might not be in control. They sort of let their eye off the ball slightly when Palace scored the goal, but apart from that, I was like, yeah, not much is happening here. But Arsenal shift almost constantly during the game. There isn't a sense that, like, I know that other teams want to catch teams on the transition and other teams want to they've got a very clear game plan. Arsenal's game plan seems so fun and so adaptable for the players that you really end up sort of going, okay, I can see where Arteta came up with this, but I'm not quite sure how this many players have license to roam in this way. Zinchenko literally does what he wants out there. And that is kind of a question that you don't really get much, and you never really hear it very much in the English, but you hear it a lot in America. How fun are these people to play with? Like, how fun must it be to play with Saka? How fun must it be to play with Zinchenko? How fun must it be to have someone like Martinelli just putting them out there? How fun is it that when you take Zinchenko off and you've no longer got him in the midfield, Tierney is just the wide option for you? How fun and enjoyable must that be as a Premier League player? Doing it as one of the youngest squads with the youngest manager at the top of the league, putting a huge distance between them and City because City did their FA Cup this weekend, and just putting a little bit of pressure there because, bear in mind, Arsenal obviously come back very early as well. I think it is also April 1st they play. City come back April 1st against Liverpool. I mean, Arsenal still have to play Liverpool, but there is like hey, we sort of need to hit the ground running here, and if you can put a little bit of space between you and City, even with a Liverpool draw at the start of that, it's good. Back to the fun thing. The interchangeability is part of it, but I think it's also just the fact that you can tell. You saw the little, like the Gabriel with Saka a little bit, and like they do their little celebration thing. That's great. The fans clearly buy into it. The fans clearly love what they're watching right now. And it's also this like weird surprise of like, hey, are we this lucky? Like, are we literally able to actually appreciate what it is that they're doing with this shirt on right now? Because I'm not actually sure that a lot of fans are. I'm not sure that we had this like grind in previous seasons, right? Like Liverpool fans got in this grind mentality. So sometimes it led to a bit of a lack of enjoyment of some of the game. Like it was enjoyable to win and it was like, hey, we are just going to go out there and win. There is like a weird excitement around what Arsenal are doing right now that they are leading and they're sort of like, yeah, let's just have a little bit of fun with it, you know? This wasn't one of those grind games. There are grind games, I know, for Arsenal. I know there have been difficult games. This was not one of those. So I'd be interested to know what you think Arteta does in the international break. The key clearly is to keep all the players fit. The key clearly is to have everyone back and, don't go away doing anything crazy. Don't go away like doing ridiculous sprints just because you want to do X. Don't go away and do that. The Premier League title is the priority for every Arsenal player here. I'm not saying you should, but I think I might feel a minor twinge, actually. I don't think I should go to international break at this point. There's a Premier League on the line here, guys. So yeah, if you're Arsenal fans, you must be absolutely thrilled. The midfield was great, imperious. Odegaard looks really fun to play with. Partey is that. I mean, he's not even the one linchpin. There are two in Zinchenko and him in the field. Partey allows Zinchenko to do what he wants. And yeah, I can't wax lyrical enough about these Arsenal guys. They're just so good to watch, and it's so satisfying to watch what Arteta's doing sort of come to fruition. So let me know, what do you guys think in the comments below? Where do you think they will go after this international break? There is a key run of games for Arsenal pretty early on after that. How do you think they hit them? Do you think they hit the ground running? A few more Arsenal games coming, a few more Arsenal videos coming, sorry. I really want to know what you guys want me to cover, so let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you again soon. Much love.